What's going on, y'all? Back at it again, live and direct. We're going to talk about Joshua versus Usyk, or should I say, Usyk defeating Joshua in one of the biggest victories of his entire career. Much bigger than him becoming undisputed in the WBSS tournament, I mean. And just him, like, overall being the better boxer, man, that night, and really showing his skill set throughout that entire 12 rounds, and how, well, I was incorrect. I thought AJ was going to be a lot smarter than that, and I thought he was going to take a different approach than boxing with somebody of Usyk, Usyk's acumen, his pedigree, his experience, and just him overall, man, like as a better boxer, man. And the mistakes that he made throughout the entire fight. But let's start out with how I watched it. I only watched it one time, and it was in bad quality because I had just gotten home from work. So I really didn't feel like, research, like searching it up or anything like that. And, you know, I had to like catch it like somewhere else, like a couple hours, no, like 8 hours later and shit. And also, like, the zone doesn't really like save the full fights like right after they air anymore. I don't know what it was, but after this fight, I said that I would cancel my subscription, which I did already. So, um, yeah, pretty much that's how it went down. And I watched it in poor quality, but even in the poor quality, I saw Usyk just like finessing AJ, man, in every single way possible. Like, I saw Usyk landing numerous amounts of jabs. I saw him landing combinations. I saw him like just pivoting, like hitting Joshua the same way that he was hitting Tony Bellew and shit, with those left hands every time that he went at a certain angle and hit him with a straight left. Like, it was just horrible, man, for on AJ's part for actually trying to box with somebody like him. But when I saw like the first portion of the fight, both of them were pretty slow at the starting point. Like, one of them was a swing round, but um, I didn't really like score it round by round like that because like it was so bad the quality. Which I'm actually gonna do a second viewing of the fight whenever I could. But I saw AJ making a lot of mistakes in there, man. Like I said before, what he should have done was what I said he should have done, like back in my breakdown prediction video, where I said he should have used his size, he should have used his length, he should have used his reach, he should have used like all these things, man, that would actually give him some type of advantage over Usyk, using his advantages, period. But I caught on to something and I learned my lesson. You want to know what it is? AJ was never that type of fighter to begin with. He has an identity crisis going on. Like a lot of fighters have been saying, like, this guy is conflicted with himself about something. And him just like not engaging the way that he would normally put the pressure on certain fighters, like that are around his size or even smaller, might have been reminiscent to the Andy Ruiz fights where he really got pummeled in and stuff. Well, in the first fight specifically, but um, what I saw with Usyk, what he was doing to Joshua, man, like he was really like just like loading his volume up on him. Like, I was expecting him to get tired, but that was like later on, but even at certain points when he did get tired, Joshua wasn't pressing on him like that. And Joshua has made a lot of mistakes, but this was a grave one. Like this was a horrible strategy, like I don't know what it is with Joshua, man, but this wasn't planned out right, man. Like I don't know, I wasn't expecting him to be like Lennox Lewis in one night, but I think he should have had some type of like fundamental idea of what to do with a smaller fighter coming up from cruiserweight, or even a smaller fighter that's been a heavyweight. Period, man. Because we've seen the Povetkin fights, we've seen all those other ones, and I thought that it would just be another one of them. But like I said before, he has an identity crisis, man. Like going on with his own style and everything. Like he doesn't know what he wants to be. And also, Usyk showed why he really belongs in the division. And I misjudged him. I misjudged him a lot, like his performances at heavyweight, him not being able to take a punch, might not being able to take a punch, but then again, I saw him taking punches against AJ, uppercuts, right hands, and he took them well. And that actually answered a lot of questions for me about him and cruiserweights going forward. And I'm about to elaborate on that later on. But Usyk, man, Usyk really showed why there was a skill gap between him and Joshua, and how the heavyweights of today can learn from the mistake that Joshua made, allowing Usyk to demonstrate that gap and making guys that are that big look stupid. And it makes me wonder, like, are the champions like Tyson Fury, like Deontay Wilder, or even the prospects, or even the contenders, man, that are their size, are they as skilled as we really think they are? I don't think so. I don't really think they're that skilled to begin with because it's heavyweight, man. It's the heavyweights of today. Like, they're not really focused on skill set that much. They're more focused on their size, their power, how they could like outlast somebody and how they could tire them out. But fundamentally, they're not really that conscious of anything. All right, y'all, I'm back. Like I said, like I was saying before, like these guys, man, at heavyweight, they're not conscious of anything in terms of their skill set. They're more so focused on their size, how they could like tire somebody out and then like land some nice shots, knockout punches. They're all about the knockouts nowadays. And they're not so focused on skill, but they could learn a lot from this Joshua fight not to repeat that same mistake. And they really need to look to different fighters, big fighters that relied on using their own size and attributes. And when I say they only focus on their knockout power, I mean like they don't really use their size like in a certain aspect where they're just like clinching and holding on or trying like old school tactics. And the best person that I've seen ever do it like that was George Foreman and Lennox Lewis. And obviously fighters of the old days and stuff, but I haven't watched that much footage on them, so I can't really like comment on historical aspects like that. So like I was saying right now, like fighters can learn from this performance against Joshua because it's only going to get worse from here, you know? Like Michael Hunter, like Myris Bradis, like Murat Gassiev, them guys, man, are somebody that you need to watch out for. And I was already having thoughts of like Murat Gassiev fighting Dillian White. I don't know if it was brought up in a group post that I saw one time that uh, was talking about Gassiev facing one of the contenders, and then they posed Dillian White. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Dillian White could get knocked out easily in that fight because Murat Gassiev, man, could take a punch. He could hit hard, and then especially after this Usyk performance, like Usyk could take a punch. He took Gassiev's punch, and that was probably the second hardest that I've ever seen him hit, besides against Anthony Joshua. You know, that big right hand in one of those like mid rounds. Well, Murat Gassiev hit him almost to that same level, believe it or not. So he has the power and he has the punch resistance as well because he took a lot of Dorticos' punches during the WBSS. If y'all don't remember seeing the entire tournament, go and watch it, man, because that was like one of the best tournaments that they posted in a while, you know. And that's where all the belts were unified and everything. But what was I saying? What was I saying? Gassiev, man, he has a shot. Myris Bradis has a shot. Definitely Michael Hunter. And everyone's gonna get pissed off at me, but Tyson Fury has a lot of flaws, believe it or not. And even though Michael Hunter had a draw with Povetkin, I actually had Michael Hunter, I think, winning that fight. And he has a shot at beating Tyson Fury, in my opinion, because they faced each other before, and supposedly Michael Hunter won. So basically, he still has one up on him. And my feeling is Tyson Fury has a lot of mental lapses, and I think he is going to go through one. Maybe in this Wilder trilogy fight, man, if it even happens, because I'm not even so sure it happens or not. And we're already 1 week away from it, which is the Saturday of next week. But if it's not Deontay Wilder, I don't think it's going to be Anthony Joshua. I don't think it's going to be even Usyk, believe it or not, because it could be a banana peel for Tyson Fury, but I don't even think Usyk could. But maybe Michael Hunter, because Michael Hunter understands Tyson Fury a lot more because he's actually been in there with him. And Tyson Fury has had issues with dealing with a cruiserweight coming up, you know, like Steve Cunningham, for example. And if Michael Hunter takes a page out of all these different fighters, you know, from Usyk facing against Joshua to uh, Steve Cunningham facing against Tyson Fury early on in his career, then Michael Hunter definitely has a shot. He has some power. He already demonstrated what he could do at that weight class. Now it's a matter of how he could get himself to that fight because I'm not even sure like if he where he's ranked in the sanctioning bodies that are in the WBC because I haven't really kept up with the rankings as much as I would like to. But um, Michael Hunter, like I said before, is one of the guys that I think has a shot against Tyson Fury. Because Tyson Fury, man, like I still see him like as a fighter with a lot of flaws. A fighter that would lose to anybody that he would more likely overlook. And it's a lot harder than everyone expected. You know, he gave a lot of scares in that Otto Wallen fight. He gave a lot of scares in that first Deontay Wilder fight. So Tyson Fury, even though he's undefeated, even though some people have him winning the trilogy, some people don't, you could see the holes are still there for anybody to find out how they could solve the riddle, you know? So Michael Hunter is definitely up there. Myris Bradis, I'm not so sure because Myris Bradis is getting up there in age. So he might be the only cruiserweight that I'm skeptical about, but he's probably one of the better boxers out of all of them. Better than Michael Hunter, better than Murad Gassiev, because he just recently won the WBSS Cruiserweight tournament. And I think he's moving up to heavyweight actually in his next fight. So it all depends on like how he builds himself up to heavyweight. You know, like who's he gonna fight there? Is he gonna fight a Witherspoon type of fighter? Is he gonna fight like a Sergey Kuzmin type of level opposition? I don't know, man. Like I really don't know because like he's getting up there in age, and I don't know how he's gonna adjust to the environment up there. I think he's gonna do a little bit well for himself until like maybe a couple years down the road. That's when like y'all will start to see like the age like really taking a toll on him. Cause then again, it's heavyweight. Like it might slow the process. Cause like if he were still at cruiserweight trying to fight there, I could see him losing there again. But this time to another like Gevor type of opponent. Because I remember in the first round of the WBSS, a lot of guys thought that he should have lost against the German guy named Gevor or McKalen, some shit like that, man. Because like this guy had like two names on BoxRec, and I really had never heard of him before. So Maris Bradis is on the clock, but at the same time, since he's moving up to heavyweight, he might have extended his career a little bit more longer, depending on his strategies that he's going to implement in the division and how he conducts himself, in terms of like who he's going to pick up as an opponent and if it's going to be the right heavyweight at the right time. So the only, like, if he is able to adapt, the only type of fighters that I think he has a chance of beating of, I think he could beat like maybe a Filip Pergovic, maybe you know what? He might actually beat Anthony Joshua. I'm not sure. But Anthony Joshua has this rematch clause against Usyk that he's going to enforce from what I hear. So depending on how he makes an adjustment against Usyk in this one is really going to tell me like how he's going to approach fights from here on out against cruiserweights, and how the cruiserweight division might be affected when thinking about moving up to heavyweight. Because if they're gonna move up to heavyweight, man, they're gonna be using their skills a lot rather than relying on power and everything else, like how all these other natural heavyweights have been doing it for so long. But the thing is, if AJ makes an adjustment and he starts really using his weight and size, like how Klitschko would do it, like how Lennox Lewis would do it, like how George Foreman would do it, that's when you'll start seeing cruiserweights being a lot more skeptical about going up there. And they're going to start picking like the right opponents, because the only heavyweight right now that I think that could pull that off is somebody like Tyson Fury. What's up to Nopal Boxianos? What is up? The odds will probably be about 55-45 in Usyk favor. Are you talking about the Tyson Fury fight or the rematch against Anthony Joshua? Because the Tyson Fury fight, man, I don't know if he could beat Tyson Fury. But in the rematch clause, I could definitely see him beating AJ all day. Because AJ, man, like AJ has a lot of problems, like mental problems, and I don't mean it like in a personal way, more like a training type of method. You know what I mean? In the rematch? Oh, okay, yeah. I think it would be a lot higher than that because everybody's gonna see that Usyk is way too skilled and Joshua, like, he's still dealing with like a lot of demons and shit, from the Andy Ruiz fights. Because whether people want to believe it or not, that Andy Ruiz fight really ruined him. I mean, not ruined him, but scarred him in certain ways. Because like I still think that he could fight the same way, against like bigger opponents, but it's gonna be the smaller opponents that are just gonna like confuse his entire game plan. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be hard for him to adjust against guys that are like small and athletic that can move real quickly or that can land combinations and shit that you wouldn't really see like in big fighters and stuff. Like if AJ were to go back and fight Andy Ruiz a third time, I think he might actually lose that fight because this Usyk fight really fucked him up really badly, man. Because from what I'm hearing, he's already like coming up with excuses and stuff. So it all depends like what he's gonna do, like if he's gonna adjust or not. Because if he's gonna adjust, he's gonna have to like drop some trainers. He's gonna have to like make a lot of like whole adjustments like as a fighter overall. Like I don't know if he could do that. I mean, I saw him box and move around like crazy in that Andy Ruiz rematch, but against a guy like Usyk, you got to do a lot more than that shit. You got to use your weight. You got to like implement tactics that are just gonna annoy the fuck out of somebody that's smaller than you, and just basically all of that type of stuff. Okay, he's been exposed in different ways, but like you said, if he applies the Klitschko tactics that he used versus Povetkin, he will take it. Yeah, Lennox Lewis, exactly, man, exactly. That's what I've been saying the whole time too. You know, like Lennox Lewis, Klitschko, they were the best ones at fighting little guys. Matter of fact, that's the whole reason why like a bunch of cruiserweights wouldn't even go up there that often because the Klitschkos were there, man. Because Lennox Lewis was there. And if they fought Lennox Lewis or Klitschko like that, they wouldn't get away with it so good, you know, so well, you know, because we saw what happened with David Haye. We saw what happened with who else? Mike Tyson, man, because Mike Tyson was at least like 5'10", and he was trying to get inside on Lennox, and Lennox wasn't having it. You know, like he was making sure that he was that small guy. He was making sure made him realize that he was small for the division, and that you're just not gonna have your way like that. You know, I'm just gonna push you around, keep you behind the stick, and I mean the jab, by the way, and that's just how it's gonna be. You know, it's gonna be like your big brother just punching you in the face repeatedly. You know what I mean? Like you really got to have that whole mentality of being like a big brother when you're a bigger guy than the smaller opponent. You know what I mean? And that's what AJ should have done. But AJ is not that type of fighter, man. Like he doesn't have dog in him. I mean, like maybe against somebody his size, you know, but he's just not good at adjusting against smaller fighters like how a Klitschko would. For the record, I absolutely hate that shit. It basically cheating, in my opinion. Depending on if you're the money man, you can get docked points for those tactics. Yeah, man. That's why Klitschko never took that shit to the United States, because y'all saw what happened in the Brian Jennings fight. He was getting lit up for that shit. You know what I mean? Like he basically almost lost that fight and never came back to the States again. That's why he took all his fights all over Eastern Europe, you know? And Lennox Lewis, not so much, because Lennox Lewis was fighting like bigger guys, you know what I mean? Like he didn't fight smaller guys that much on it occasionally. Besides occasionally, you know, like Mike Tyson and everything. But the Klitschko's, man, were lucky. Well, Vladimir specifically, because Vitaly was a different style of fighter compared to Vladimir. Vladimir, man, was the guy that everybody would just hate fighting, man. You know, if they were smaller than him, a lot of fans would complain back in the day about, man, this guy doesn't even fight guys that are his size. Man, this guy can't even fight um, guys that can box or anything like that. Which is why I picked him against that. Which is why I picked Tyson Fury to beat him. Believe it or not, when everybody was like, nah, Tyson Fury's too inexperienced, or nah, Klitschko's just gonna implement the same tactics that he does like on smaller opponents like David Haye and all of them. Nah, man, I knew it was gonna be a different fight because Tyson Fury's like what, 6'9", almost 300 pounds and shit. And the man could box, you know, like this wasn't gonna be like Steve Cunningham or anything, because Steve Cunningham was like what, 10 inches shorter than Vladimir and shit. You know, like everyone, when it comes like to the heavyweights, it's a whole different ball game, you know. It's more than just styles. It's a lot of other things. It's all about size and how you could use it against like the smaller opponents and stuff. And it's annoying, like how the Klitschko brothers would fight. Well, specifically Vladimir, like how he would implement those like clenching and stuff like that, putting his weight on somebody. Like that Povetkin fight was horrible, man. Fucking terrible, bro. Like Povetkin was sapped and everything, but it worked. That's the thing. It worked. And he was lucky that it worked in a place like Russia because that's where the fight took place. So yeah, man, like it's annoying, but at the same time, it works at the end of the day. But AJ, he's not that type of fighter to do it. He's a nice guy. He's gonna let you be like, oh, okay, okay, I'll beat you at your own game, mate. Type of shit. You know what I mean? But AJ is not a bad fighter at all. And the thing is, he just has a lot of like mental hesitation, as I like to call it, because like this guy wants to box you, or he wants to knock you out, or he's thinking about other people's expectations other than his, and that's why I think he might not be able to win that Usyk rematch. So I'm curious to see, excuse me, somebody trying those tactics at light heavyweight against Canelo. I bet the refs will be docking points. Oh nah, man, because like there's nobody that big like at light heavyweight, man. Like let's say if Marcus Brown tried to lean on Canelo, it really wouldn't work at all because like Canelo would just be like strong enough to do it, like just to pull himself out of that situation. Because Canelo is like what, 180 pounds, 190 pounds on fight night when he's fighting at light heavyweight. I doubt like he would put himself in that type of situation. Canelo, for even though I'm picking Plan against him, and you already know about you already know about that, but Canelo's a smart fighter, man. He would never let a guy like Klitschko lean on him like that. Or man, I don't want to say Lennox Lewis because Lennox Lewis is a better boxer than a lot of people realize. But if Klitschko was if there was like a Klitschko style in the same division as Canelo, that shit would not last at all. Like Canelo would have knocked the fuck out of that person easily, because he's already seen that style, man. With Gennady Golovkin, and Gennady Golovkin was a more refined style than that shit than Vladimir Klitschko, because Gennady Golovkin had a great jab. Gennady Golovkin had good punch variety at certain points whenever, like when he wanted to implement it, and the guy knew how to throw to the body. To me, he was like a better boxer than Klitschko in that aspect. But if Vladimir was in the same division as Canelo, man, I'll give him that, man. I'll definitely give Canelo that win for sure. Because like Canelo, he knows like how to slip himself out of that position. Like he wouldn't let some guy just like lean on him or anything like that. Because that's just a recipe for disaster. Like going to the body. Like you're basically saying, "Hey, Canelo, I got some what's it called? I got a sack of potatoes that you could beat on, which is my stomach." And he's like, "Oh shit." Let me throw my hooks in. All right, man. All right, bet. It would take 6'3" guy, probably. Maybe, but it also depends on the weight. It also depends on like dimensions overall. Like if a guy was to shrink down to 175 and stuff, like it depends on how he rehydrates too. But like I was saying before, man, like about the heavyweights and stuff, cruiserweights in this era definitely have a chance, but it all depends on how AJ approaches this whole rematch clause against Usyk. Like if he's able to use his size like how I thought he would, like in the first time around, then it's going to be a big problem for the cruiserweights, and that's just going to give them another scare not to come up in weight, just like how the Klitschko's did it. But at this point right now, the cruiserweights have a lot of confidence. Like Gassiev probably could beat the fuck out of Dillian White, in my opinion. Myris Bredas definitely could finesse somebody like Joseph Parker, in my opinion, too, because he already knocked the fuck out of Manuel Char. I think it was Manuel Char that was fighting at that either heavyweight or cruiserweight. I don't know what time that fight took place, but I know that he took out Emmanuel Char for sure. But yeah, Lennox was doing that successfully to Tua, bro. Yes, he was. I'm not sure if Tua went to the body, bro. It was comparable size difference. Yeah, yeah. But Tua, man, Tua was just like a thick specimen. You know what I mean? Like he was like a big guy, like 230, 240. He wasn't built like Mike Tyson. He was the same height around there, but he was built differently, you know, because he's Samoan. And you know, like how them guys are like naturally strong men. And they're able like to take a lot of punches and shit, you know. So um and David Tua can't really move that good, like in terms of his footwork and stuff, but he's able like to shell himself up pretty good, you know. But a guy like Ike Ibeabuchi, one that he fought, would have done well, you know, but his career didn't like span out like how it would, like how it should have, you know what I mean? But I agree though, man. I agree. Like a Canelo style, like if Canelo was like what, 6 feet, 6'1", I'll agree that he would dominate this entire era, you know, like of heavyweights easily, easily. Matter of fact, man, probably a guy like what's it called? Guy like Marquez. I've always said it before, man, because that's just how bad the heavyweights are, man, you know, of today. Like the only problems that you're ever gonna come across are cruiserweights, man, now in this division because they have such a wide skill gap, man. Great fights to rewatch, Texan. Hell yeah, man. I'm probably gonna rewatch some fights later on with Caleb Plant, Canelo, uh Charlo, all them guys, man. Lower weight classes and even some of the cruiserweights, you know. But yeah, man, these cruiserweights, man, are a big problem. Like the cruiserweights of today are built differently. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like like how Steve Cunningham's cruiserweight division was back then. You know, or man, I don't know, man. I'm very excited to see what happens. You know, because like, what if Myris Bradis or Michael Hunter upsets like one of the champions? You know what I mean? And believe it or not, even though I picked Tyson Fury against Klitschko, even though I picked Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder in both fights, I think he might end up losing to Michael Hunter, man, later on down the line. You know, like if Michael Hunter puts himself in that position in the WBC and like everything goes well for Tyson Fury after the Deontay Wilder fight and he doesn't lose, if Michael Hunter can sneak himself in there, then man, anything's possible, man. Anything is fucking possible. If you ever down to rescoring fights, hit me up on Twitter and I'll hook you up with a YouTube link. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Yeah, we could rescore some fights. Just pick whatever your poison is and I'll probably be on it. But then again, I'm on a schedule, man. So but I'll let you know. I'll let you know definitely. But yeah, you could comment the link whenever you want, you know, maybe like after this live ends and stuff. And then like I could probably like whenever I have time I could swing by and then we could like schedule a fight that you want to rescore and stuff because I'm pretty sure that you want to rescore some Canelo fights, I bet. I know you do, man. I know you do. You can't hide it from me, no pal. I know you do. But yeah, man. AJ. AJ doesn't like really make adjustments to me, believe it or not. Besides in the second Andy Ruiz fights, because like in the second fight with him, it almost seems like it was forced and like he seemed pretty uncomfortable. Like all he wanted to do was survive and stuff, in my opinion. Like he really fell out of his element, and that shit carried on into the Pula fight, where you saw that a little bit in every round. where he was like, should I knock him out or should I box him a lot more? Because I thought that he would have gotten knocked out against Pulev, man, like in the fifth. I mean, he would have knocked out Pulev in the fifth round. And I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, this guy is scarred, bro. This guy is scarred like hell. Be right back, man. Drink some water. Yeah, that. Oh man, my mic was off, man. I'm kidding, but it'll be around this time once a week. All right, bet. Roy Jones was trying to say midway that AJ had adjusted. He was like, "Where's Usyk's adjustment?" I mean, AJ made some adjustments, but it almost feels like it's not genuine, every time that he's making an adjustment. Because it almost seems like he has somebody had mentioned that he has too many voices in his corner, and that's always been my issue with it too, because if he had so many voices in his corner, man, why does he have them? You know what I mean? In the first place, he should have made his own adjustment and changed trainers like a long time ago. Get himself an American trainer or somebody internationally that works with like different types of fighters. Like Ismael Salas. You know what I mean? That's a good trainer to go with. Before I get the whole thing about, oh, you think American trainers are the best, huh? Don't you think that you're nationally biased or some shit? Nah, man. If my trainer of the year is Ismael Salas, then how the fuck am I nationally biased? You know what I mean? I think that would be a good trainer for AJ, I mean, Joe Joyce is training with him. So, yeah. In my opinion, adjustments are for when your game plan isn't working. If it's working, why go to plan B? Yeah, that's true. AJ, man, like AJ really doesn't seem like I said before, he doesn't seem like he's putting his all into it, you know what I mean, when making these adjustments. Because if he's conflicted with himself, he's like, oh, but what about this guy? What does he think of it? Or how am I gonna do my initial objective of knocking him out with not doing this adjustment right now? You know what I mean? That's probably what he thinks. You know what I mean? Like it's really something going on in there with AJ that he really needs to reassess himself on. Like if he is gonna take this rematch, like bring Klitschko, man, bring Klitschko in, like in the corner, because Klitschko knows how to deal with it. But then again, I don't know, man, if he would do that because I saw Vitaly at the fight, and I'm pretty sure that the brothers have some type of relationship with Usyk and that whole camp with Lomachenko. You know what I mean? So that might be something that to scratch off, But somebody like Ismael Salas, man, that shit would be good for him. Because I mean, Joe Joyce trains with him, and I'm pretty sure that Ismael Salas would know what to do with somebody like AJ. You know what I mean? But my thing is, if AJ is gonna make some type of adjustments in the Usyk fight, he might have to like scratch it off for a while, because taking the next fight with Usyk might be a bad idea because Usyk already understands his angles. He already understands his game plan, his adjustments, and everything. Because Usyk, man, he's pound for pound one of the best intelligent fighters out there, man. You know what I mean? Up there with Canelo, up there with Crawford. Not too many people want to accept it, man, but it just is what it is, AJ has 25 fights, still has no chance to adjust his skills. I don't think Klitschko will go against a fellow Ukrainian. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's what I was thinking too, man. When I saw Vitaly there, yeah, Vitaly was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, Usyk got him for me," like because I remember I saw how pissed Vitaly was, like at the very end of his fight with Vladimir. Like he was just like looking at se cae viendo a Joshua, man. Like if you know what that means, I'm pretty sure you know what that means, man. Like se quedó viendo a Joshua, bro. Like he wanted to throw putazos with him right there, beating up his little brother and shit. So that was probably his own form of payback, you know what I mean? So uh yeah, man, some great fights going on. I hope this Wilder versus Fury trilogy fight happens, man, because I hope he doesn't back out. I hope this fight continues, man. That way we can get some closure. Whether you think uh oh man, like whatever your opinion is, like about Joshua, I mean about Fury and Wilder, I'm pretty sure that you just want some closure on it, period, man. Because like we gotta continue this heavyweight division because it just took a turn right now, with Usyk beating everybody, and these guys got a lot on their plate. And the sooner we could get undisputed, the better. I don't even care if it's Fury. I don't even care if it's Wilder at this point. Just get it over with. So, um, yeah, that's pretty much it for me, y'all. Shout out to everybody that came by, no pod. Maybe somebody that came in as an overseer, didn't comment, maybe left a like or not, but he's just there overseeing everything. That's cool. But at the end of the day, man, it all depends. Well, Nopad says it also depends on if Klitschko wants his loss to age, but also he can purposely sabotage him to help Usyk. Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. The art of war, because Vladimir is a smart guy, like in terms of his life skills and stuff like that. I've heard what he does outside the ring and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much that's it for y'all. That's it for the live. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Probably gonna do this more often, whenever there's a fight coming up. So until then, I'm out of here, y'all. Take care, especially in these times, man. Peace.